And today, the topic of our discussion is beyond banking. And I would like to start with the following. Today, we all see the changes in the banking systems. Classical banks lose their dominant positions, and now classical banks are not classic anymore. We see transformation into marketplaces, and now you can buy through marketplaces everything from bread up to the tour to Turkey. We not only transfer our money, receive loans, but we can book our leisure time, tours, pay for services, process some documents. No one of us is using our physical ID card. We all use our mobile applications or bank applications. Now, banking applications, it's not only about classical banking services. Right now, we speak about large marketplaces, we speak about large super apps, and lots of other things that banks can generate. The other tendencies that we see nowadays, we see banking service when banking services are implemented in traditional businesses, and traditional companies provide banking services through their own applications. So we see the specific tendencies of growing into one each other. And we have also the other two mega trends. First is AI that changes not only the representation of banks, but the essence of banks itself. And the other mega trend is the emergence of large ecosystem, cryptocurrency, digital assets. We see that now more and more central banks, they issue their own digital currencies, and it impacts the existence of the banking system. And we see that banking system will see changes in future. And with this regard, we will have a discussion today. We'll speak about regulation, about our expectations for future, how to live with this, and how a banking system is being transformed. Let us start with Barbara. Barbara, could you please tell us, cryptocurrency is now existing for more than 10 years. We passed through all stages, starting from denying up to adopting regulation. Many central banks, they already have their digital assets, and now we see that being a global business, you have different platforms, and you are also present in the sector of digital assets. In your opinion, what other key tendencies do you observe in this financial industry, and how do you see the further development of all these parts of financial sector? I mean, digital assets and so on. Thank you so much, Galim. Well, first of all, I would like to say that LMAX group participates for the first time in Astana Finance Days. So let me tell you a couple of words about our LMAX group. We work all over the world, and we are the leading operator of institutional execution venues for cryptocurrencies. As for cryptocurrency management, we work there since 2018, and our clients are large funds, brokers that have been selling cryptocurrencies, have been trading cryptocurrencies for a long time. Total volume of currency and crypto operations is about $48 million each day. We see the tendency. We see the merging of traditional and digital capital markets. We see among our clients different situations. For example, if we look at funds and at brokers, we see that about 40% they trade with FX in our exchanges. When we started crypto sector, initially it was a natural evolution of our system, because our clients, they wanted to trade with crypto the same way as they do trading with other things, and they expanded their FX strategy. Nowadays, in our exchanges, Bitcoin dollar is the seventh, speaking about the volume, currency per year. The largest banks work with us. They are our clients, but unfortunately, banks do not trade with cryptocurrency. And Again, it is related to the absence of regulatory clarity for banks, especially in this cryptocurrency market. So today I want to say about the situation happening in crypto regulation. Over the last 10 years, there were very few legislation in this crypto industry. But over these 12 months, last 12 months, we see the new stage in this industry. We see that there are large regulatory changes happening in the US after Trump became the president, and his administration started to be more friendly to this crypto industry. And we see that in Europe, there is already implemented MiCA regime, and large companies now receive licenses all over Europe. But especially, let's look at US, because we know US is a very important market for crypto industry. We see there are different things. For example, S&P 121 has been canceled. That means that traditional banks now can do custody of digital assets, and it's a big change. Then now we see the adoption of Genius Act that creates transparency for usage of stable coin, and now we see that almost twice over these last 6 months the stablecoin market increased in US, and by the end of this year several other changes will be adopted, and after this we think that banks will come to this segment. What we see for ourselves, as soon as large banks started to trade cryptocurrency, then we can see that market from this retail stage would come to a more institutional stage with higher standards. As for infrastructure and infrastructure evolution, we think that the merge of two industries, I mean traditional finances and digital finances, this is very positive, and it will impact positively to all capital markets. We see blockchain technologies modernize lots of financial processes. We see also that crypto companies, they take different aspects of traditional financial infrastructure. Speaking about our example, for us, cryptocurrency is like, we built everything based on our FX infrastructure. We just launched some new assets, and we still follow the same high standards as we always did for our operations. So that's why we see positive effect, and we see this merge happening in the market, and the further growth of crypto industry will increase. Thank you so much, Barbara. It's very interesting when such large players start to simplify regulation and start to create trends, then all other world would follow this example, and they will create their own regulatory sandbox, and they will create conditions for the development of crypto industry. And Kazakhstan is also participating here. We see crypto exchanges, we see National Bank have digital assets, Central Bank have digital assets, and there are different initiatives on creating crypto city based on Alatau city in Almaty. And now I have a question to Lyazzat. Lyazzat, how do you see how banks build this interaction with crypto market? Digital assets, they move from the niche sphere to everyday practices. How our banks do this transition now? Good day. I'm glad to greet everybody at this Astana Finance Day event. Thank you so much for this question, Galim, because I think that most of us know that Eurasian Bank is one of the first banks that started work seriously in crypto sphere. Let's take my example. Me personally, I was against this market. You know, when there is no knowledge, there is no trust. No trust, it means fear. But over these 3-4 years now, we observe dramatic changes in trends, as Barbara has just mentioned, or maybe you, Galim, said this. You know, due to this non-trust, or due to there were some non-trust that it could be just a bubble, but now we see the stable stage, and now cryptocurrency is a full-fledged component of financial ecosystem with its own products, processes, infrastructure, and regulation. Banks surely have already come to crypto sector, and they came here not just because it's trendy or it's a fashionable step, but again, due to economic rationality. If there is a demand, there should be offer, of course. In general, today we see all over the world there are lots of examples when banks integrate with crypto market. For example, there are custodian services, and we hear that such large players like JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and I saw here the representative of Goldman Sachs. Probably they will speak about it at other different panel sessions. So they provide services for safe storage of crypto assets, and of course for institutional investors and for investment funds it's important. Cryptocurrencies shall not be stored somewhere on USB drive within some IT guys. They should be in a very clear infrastructure with a clear risk. And Barbara has also mentioned, and we see it, that there are opportunities for brokerage and for building some derivatives using crypto. We, as banks, see the interest of international payment systems. Visa and MasterCard, they developed crypto cards where clients can pay with crypto currencies, like with usual money. It's in real time. Conversion is happening at the same time. Speaking about Kazakhstan, about 2 years ago, together with the National Bank, we conducted test launch of digital bank, and some other banks also joined us. And today, we would like to use this opportunity and to declare that Eurasian Bank has launched the pilot crypto card for fiat operations. This is a pilot project, but it is based on the real infrastructure. Clients today that have this card, they could keep their assets at the balance of our partner exchange, and they are able to do different transactions in real time, to do purchases using this card in Apple Pay and MasterCard terminals. And all of this happened due to the fact that our regulators, our National Bank and Agency of Financial Regulation, created all this regulatory framework for the possibility of such operations. Yes, there is a limit, only $1,000, because we are just in the regulatory sandbox. However, the fact itself that there is an official and legal breach between crypto business and banks, this breach exists. It's created here in Kazakhstan, and it is in Almaty city. As far as I understand, stablecoin, tokenization, everything will happen soon. But speaking about banks, very soon we'll see loans with the collateral in form of digital assets. And I think and I hope that in the nearest time we will participate in other different projects on the development of other digital assets. And I consider that paying with cryptocurrency will not be the question anymore, because it will be a usual thing for us, like everything we do now with our phones, non-contact payment. It is already here. Thank you so much, Lyazzat. Yes, that's true. Cryptocurrency is coming to our lives, and it's remove all these borders between countries. Any cryptocurrency in any country will be just cryptocurrency, and it will greatly simplify transactions between countries. And I think the future is there. Right now, cryptocurrencies are already perceived as part of ecosystem, but AI is still unknown creature for us. Lately, updates from OpenAI, Meta, open colossal opportunities for us, but at the same time, we speak here about great risks. I have the other question to Talgat. Talgat, how do you see the role of AI in the investment company's activity? What are the opportunities and what are the threats for businesses and for financial sector in general, in your opinion, please? Thank you so much for this question, Galim. Well, first of all, I would like to say a couple of words about what we are doing. Let me speak about our vision, what we see now in local and our global market. We are Valor Capital company. This is a company that has license from AFSA. We have several licenses, for example, management of assets and individual management of assets. Speaking about artificial intelligence, we see that over the last 2-3 years, even in our everyday life, there have been different big changes or dramatic changes. And I think now there is no person here in this room who would not use ChatGPT for some of the tasks. Speaking about international market and latest research, the British financial regulator published the numbers that 80% of financial institutes use AI to bigger or less extent in their activities. Speaking about managing companies, speaking about investment companies, there are several directions where AI has already been actively used. The key thing, we understand AI is a universal assistant analyst that is able to collect data much faster than any other team of analysts. If we speak about LLM models that are trained with a text that are bigger than the volume of Wikipedia 1,000 times, of course, we see that there is a big advantage in the speed and in the depth of analysis. So AI is now used in analysis and in forecasting. Just recently, yesterday, we had the other session and other panel session, the other discussion and panel sessions where we were discussing that AI tools over a minute could, process information that would require 1 or 2 weeks for a person. Of course, this is additional value for those companies that would use such AI tools. So here we speak about reports, about companies' different activities, podcasts, analytical reviews. We see already very big industry of co-pilot that would be complement. I mean, here we speak about additional work. It's not about replacement of analyst work. Now, analyst is playing a role of interpreter and setting the tasks. The better task will be formulated for AI, the better and more efficient the result would be received. We see also the broad use of AI in clients' interaction. So here we speak about chatbots, onboarding issues when a potential client during onboarding process cannot see and cannot even feel or perceive that on the other side there is an AI or there is a machine that would ask question and would do all this communication, giving comfort to client.
Well, the risk is also a separate topic. It's the value that is on a maximum level nowadays because there are many models. Of course, we understand that there are many models that are connected to the bank crediting system, to the scoring. But a very important thing is that AI is not a substitution. It's an addition. It is the tool that you shall not trust ultimately, but at the same time, you have to work with it because the environment itself in infrastructure is developing quite fast, and there are many acts that are adopted in EU. For example, it's AI Act where you have to disclose. Then you have to also identify the counter agent. The same thing in US, for example, if there's an usage of the AI, you also have to disclose this information. Well, the most important thing here, what is the takeaway? We're talking about the early stage development of AI, and the main practice is the supporting, sometimes it's the back office functions, somewhere it could be risk management, but it's not in decision making, as we have heard the discussion with Brett in the morning. Well, decision making we see in a way that there is a share of participation will be extending and expanding, but when it comes to the challenges, it is important to understand the risks, and we shall not trust fully, and we have to use additional tools in order to navigate through those risks. Thank you so much for your answer. Indeed, AI is impressing us with its opportunities and everything that is connected to the financing and banking system and financing systems will be the first ones, the pioneers who will use first. And of course, LLM and machine learning AI first pioneers were the ones that had used the deep learning. I understand that banks going to be the first ones who will utilize AI in their system and change the landscape of the banking environment. Nevertheless, banks have a lot of competitors, and it is not amongst the banks, it also in other institutions, investment banks, for example. As we know, for example, in the West, the investment banks are the part of the infrastructure of the banking systems, and many investment banks are the competitors of the traditional and conventional banks, and they compete for the money of population. If population invest in fund stocks in Kazakhstan, we prefer, of course, deposits, and we invest into the currency, and the access is quite limited. So that is why I have a question to Yerlan. Yerlan, how do you think how digitalization will ease the access where the banks cannot offer the rates, especially in dollars? Hello, everyone. Well, overall, the digitalization for Kazakhstani people changes the rules of the game, and this is the opinion that we have heard many, many times. If our colleagues had been elaborating on the banks being something different, that especially in a digital era, banks are not, it is something that is necessary for every single person. I am a CEO of the company Tabys, and we see main challenges that are attributed to the digitalization, and first is the retail market being free-willed and not being satisfied, because we Kazakhs are quite, free-spirit people. So retail nowadays is dictating the rules. How should the digital assistant look like in investment? And recently, I will elaborate on example Tabys Pro, and within 1.5 months, we had been chosen by more than 6,000 people for the simplicity of online onboarding, biometric features, and for quick input of money and instant extraction of money to any kind of bank card. And this is the key challenge nowadays, to conform to the requirements of retail. Second challenge that I see, which is connected to the first challenge as well, well, it is the risk appetite, which is unlimited. We see that Kazakhstani people are quite easily make decisions on investment to different tools. And we, Tabys Pro, try to bring the culture of investment. I hope that we will be able to somehow change the culture of the investment. And we have a halal filter, which is also based on the requirement of a majority of our users. And what else we are planning? Of course, it's the marginal trades, which is the simplest thing on our application Tabys Pro. These are the challenges, are the key ones, and this is how we see the risks. And of course, it's the fraudery, cyber attacks. These are the risks, of course, and personal data protection. We, as a company, the participants of the market, our regulators, pay attention onto those risks. Well, overall digitalization, how we see that investment culture is developed, I could say what we do is we make a lot of steps in order to develop this culture, and we see that more than 3 million people in Kazakhstan use and invest in different ways into the different tools, and Tabys is the key player in this infrastructure by creating an AI assistant, as Talgat had elaborated. Is one of the challenges. Of course, we cannot really replace fully invest consultant by AI assistant, but we're nearer to bringing the gap closer to create conditions where each investor, with the help of these two AI assistants, could express their own profile, understand what kind of investor I am, and respectively make the deals. I hope that we will come to this day when everyone will be aware of this. Thank you indeed. Yeah, I had a chance to glance onto the statistics of the investment. I see that portfolio investment is growing in Kazakhstan. We see that population is investing into the funds, and digital channels are developing, and ease of the access to the capital actually creates the opportunity to grow this segment. But at the same time, for the banks, is competitive, highly competitive environment, because people are exiting from the banking system. Well, another thing, we know that in the world there used to be two forms, cash and wire payment, and this is how the banking system had been developed, because they would use these assets and then distribute these assets, and this is how they would come to an income. But we see that digital currency nowadays, it is something that is between cash and wire payment, and I don't see how banking system would participate in this kind of transactions and how exactly they're going to issue the loan. So that is why I have a question to Lyazzat. Lyazzat, how do you see? Do you think that alternative forms of the financing will transform the conventional banking system from the role of the cash payment for the investment? How do you think the future would unfold? Are you trying to offer me to make the forecast? Well, when you make the forecast, is actually something that is like a deadline of a milk, because we started thinking about bitcoins and AI, and this is the part of our life, and we are trying to build the bridges, as I have already mentioned in the previous question, and we are in a waiting. We're on a standby right now and see what is going on. Let's forget about conventional banking system, because it doesn't exist anymore. As my colleague said, elaborated previously, and I'm as a CEO of Eurasian Bank, I'm trying to say that we are on a verge of being closer to our clients than before. So nowadays, there are different versions like Bank 3.0, 4.0. So there is no classical bank anymore. We are on different level where we developing different products and services. So what is happening nowadays? So it's just from the area of the forecast. I'm not the bracket, but money becoming smarter. If we could pay with cash, or we could make the transaction or wire money with the help of the bank. Now there are digital scenarios where they go from one owner to another owner, and on the scenarios that are already had been scripted. But banks had been offering the mobile transactions. So there was a mobile payments for the carrier, for example, payment, or to the operators, if you remember the payment for your phone balance. But nowadays, there could be scenario like, for example, if the lorry with the cargo came over, you can pay for leasing. We see that script, and I'm sure that our colleagues and other bankers are working on implementing it at maximum level. Another trend is the digital assets and tokenization. Again, we're talking about, we've already mentioned about it on the previous sessions. There's also digital tenge, there's Chinese digital Chinese yuan. It is not about being in digital concentration camp. We're trying to liberalize, and revolution that had happened and is nowadays spreading quite quickly. In the near future, we will see that the issuance of the loans with a collateral of tokens used as a collateral, and tokens like Mona Lisa and etc. and art pieces and masterpieces. I think in the future we will be able as banks to create and clients receive services in issuance of the tokenized assets. Regarding the artificial intelligence, Talgat is absolutely right. In all of the banks, there is AI used already, and specialists in McKinsey elaborate that artificial intelligence is not about replacing the employee. It is improving the quality of the risks and opportunities for the forecast and analysis. And nowadays, AI is indeed very, very fast, in a very, very fast pace, is implemented in the lives of people and banks. I think banks won't cease existence. We will issue loans and assets in different versions, and we are expecting that this market, digital market, reminds as a street where there is a road where that had been quietly erected by population, let's say. The cars are already using this pathway, but the road hasn't been built yet. So we are now constrained with the regulators. We are developing in crypto fiat assets, and I guess Kazakhstan will be moving forward, and we will be trying to include it into it. And as Barbara said, that we will see in near future the international and in international arena there will be massive changes, and how banks see themselves. The competition between banks, it is not for the products, it is not in the frames of the products, it is about competition in scenarios, how correct the script and scenario implemented into the process of the rendering services. And as the electric socket, let's say, it should be ergonomic, we shall not even notice it. It wouldn't really matter what we're doing. Are we paying for something or we're investing? Is it built on smart contract or another tool? Client is not interested in those things. The most important thing for them to click. Well, we are spoiled. Kazakhstani people are spoiled to just a click, with one click to receive services and products, and banks will exist, and we're planning to prepare engineering infrastructure for these stories and narratives and try to work towards making it accessible. Thank you. As a continuation of the digital currency, I would like to ask similar question to Talgat. Will the digital currency development will be the challenge or become new driver for the fund market for the clients? Could you tell us your vision? How do you see that? Thank you so much for your question. Well, as a continuation of this topic, Lyazzat had started development of the new technologies, the cryptocurrency, AI, and CBDC, stablecoin, and etc. It has always been a threat and additional challenges, but at the same time, it was additional drivers for those who adapt quickly. In the system CBDC, for example, probably understanding is not settled yet because people don't understand nowadays what is the cashless tenge, what is the digital tenge. As a form of money, we always say that cash, which is the tenge, the emittent, the issue emittent is the national bank, and also we have the cashless tenge, which the commercial banks are the issuers and that we use as the cooperative clients, etc. And regarding the transparency, I think in regulation there are no issues with this regards. Third form is the digital tenge, where any CBDC that could be emitted by the national bank, and that could be something that low-cost one, because we say that we can pay offline even, which is the advantage. Well, if we refer to international experience, there is a case which is quite popular, the digital crowns. There are Nigerian, in Nigeria, digital naira, and the digital yuan in China. Why central banks nowadays that are published in the official sources? Well, the driver and the main reason of making decision in launching the product, it is the different situation. It's the coverage is the high one with the banking services, but the share of the cash is decreasing. And Swiss is one of the countries where 90% of the cash flow is actually built on cashless payments and cashless assets. And in order to not give opportunity to cashless wires or transactions being the numbers growing out of hand, there was a tool that had been introduced as the digital currency. So the digital yuan is actually being introduced because of this reason.
Speaking about risks for banks and for other companies, yes, obviously, as you noted it correctly, we see here the risk. The deposit base of the bank could be turned into digital, and of course, to decrease the income of the bank. Speaking about other players of the market, here we have different situation. You see, the key player here is the client itself. What CBDC could give you is decreasing of credit risk, because it would be as low, because digital currency, tenge, yuan, would be in the central bank. That would be the issuer of this currency. Speaking about credit risk, it's more like a benefit. Speaking about some other issues, of course, here we speak about decrease of transactional fees when regulator itself does all these operations. And of course, we speak here about removing the mediators. Consumer would win, but again, here we see the risks regarding the income of the bank. The main thing to understand here, the threats that we were talking about, they are not so high, taking into account world experience. All these three countries, China, Sweden, Nigeria, now it's fifth or sixth year when they have this project, and the share of CBDC or digital currency is not bigger than 1 or 2%. So maybe these threats are over, let's say, presented, but regulator will follow it, will control, so that the banking system would be stable. And the use of the application of CBDC, again, if we speak about the economy, and if we speak specifically about Kazakhstan, some specific sectors or industries, for example, state procurement or economic things could be different. Here we speak about some sectors where risk compliance is high and where the high level of responsibility is required. But in general, again, those players who will adopt all these new technological innovations would be beneficiaries. That's why all of us, including banks and colleagues from brokers company and from managing companies, should be aware and should respond quickly to all these innovations. Yes, thank you so much. We have very little time, and I have two more short questions. Barbara, in your opinion, speaking about digital assets, financial ecosystem of Kazakhstan, will it be the part of merging of traditional and digital markets? And to what extent Kazakhstan is important for your company? I mean, is it potential market for this industry? For us, Kazakhstan is very important, and we see again that this is a fast-growing market, and everything that we were speaking about today, I mean, the merging of two markets, traditional one and digital one. I think in Kazakhstan, everything happens even with a bigger speed, faster speed than we see it happening in Europe or in some other countries. So that's why we encourage it, and we see what AIFC is doing with regard to regulation of all these sectors and all other innovations. So this market is very important for us, and we want to become the part of this ecosystem. Thank you so much. And the most important, we want to see each other next year at the same forum. My next question is to Yerlan, a brief question. We all know that in Kazakhstan we have two exchanges. Exchange market is growing. There are more and more issuers, especially at the loan debt market, like bonds and so on. In your opinion, to what extent does the market of Kazakhstan show attractiveness? What shall we do so that to attract new participants, new invest banks, new clients? What shall we do with regard to it? Because Kazakhstan, unfortunately, with all these developments, Kazakhstan is still lagging behind when we speak about the development of fund market and retail investments at this fund market. I believe that this will be developed. Kazakhstan is one of a few countries in the world that has now a request on the development of the state markets. And it's great that we have this support from the state, from the government, to the development of this investment culture. Here we see any IPO of our company is a big event for Kazakhstan. Well, even not IPO, but just the issuance of any security or paper would be a very big event. And people and retail market, they speak about this moment, and it's cool. We all see this. Speaking about foreign investors, I think the key factor should be the regulation. I mean, the regulations, it could be forecasted, because trust at the financial market is the main asset for all of us, and I'm pretty sure for all our colleagues as well. We see it by ourselves. Every day we face and encounter such situation. Now, we have already learned how to set some specific rules for everybody, the rules that would be equal for all. And it gives us a chance that our assets, Kazakhstani assets, would become more and more interesting for all other players, for foreign people as well. But the most important for each investor is to feel trust, to feel care. You know, I am dealing with client service, and I understand that for Kazakhstan and for Kazakhstani people, when you see the care about you and your client, it's very good. You know, when we travel all over the world, we see that our level of service is at the same high level as in any other country, and I think that Kazakhstan will be appreciated for this. But the main thing is the trust from foreign investors, and I think this will make us stronger. Thank you very much. With this, I would like to conclude our session. That's true that banks are being transformed, they are being adapted, and we understand that banking business itself is no longer about attract loans or give loans. Now banks are going beyond their limits. Banks are in all parts of the business, and business is penetrating banking sector. And we see now new megatrends: digital assets, cryptocurrencies, artificial intelligence, the exchange market, digitalization, and everything else that could be discussed. And I think that in a year we'll meet again and we'll discuss what changes we observed over these years. And I think